Pahlavi text translated by E.W. West, Part 4, Contents of the Nasks, Clarendon, Oxford University Press, 1892, Dinkard, Book 8, Chapter 20. 1. In the 5th section are 24 particulars about the standing up and going forth of a man with a weapon and angry thoughts towards another man, and also when he takes a beast of burden, saddles it, and sits upon it, takes the rein, a yokam in hand, and walks away. This too that, when he arrives there, he smites that man or someone else, and whatever's on the same subject. 2. About what one has to do when the conversation of two men is of the destruction of a righteous man, of highway robbery, and of the cursing owing thereto, and whatever's on the same subject. About what one has to do when of two men who are on the same road, one slays a righteous man, and about the other when he is fearless, and when he is fearful. 4. About preserving one worthy of death, when it is requisite for medical purposes. Bezashki, though the plaintiff is of a different opinion, and whatever's on the same subject. 5. About the needlessness of plaintiffs and defendants speaking as to the substance, min tanu, of the law, when the witness and judge is the supreme priest, the confidence which they may place in the decision of the supreme priest, due to his own knowledge and evidence, when, moreover, they have not to atone in the body, and the want of confidence in another judge, when, moreover, they have to atone in the body, and the needfulness of plaintiffs and defendants speaking on the substance, valtanu, of the law, even when the judge is aware of the law. 6. About unauthorized combatants become mutually sinful, when to dissipate, siktano, a wound of the one, he would make the other one worthy of death. 7. About supplies, pishon, in traveling together, and the renewal, and whatever's on the same subject. 8. About inflicting penalties by magistrates, the assistance of the unmagisterial given to magistrates, the assistance of the magistrates, and the exemption of these latter from atonement to those former, likewise about conversation as to an assault, and whatever's on the same subject. 9. About the evasion of penalty by men at the time when a sin may be committed, and the arrest of their nearest relations being important in whatever measure implicated therein, and impossible to consider innocent, how to confine and make them really coerced to seek a remedy, and whatever's on the same subject. 10. About the powerfulness which comforts in sin, where there is any special worthiness, and the reason of any worthiness, the want of power, where there is special unworthiness, and the reason of unworthiness, the production of the good works of one towards another, of the powerful, and of the sin of one of those lacking power, and whatever is on the same subject. 11. About the plaint which one has to argue, and for the defendant to dispute, the time for making the statement, go bo, when the defendant does not come, or comes not to conduct the business, the several peculiarities of plaintiff and defendant, the time for conducting being on the day before yesterday, the firm one and the powerless, the incrimination therein, the death blow on the exhaustion of the possessions of the plaintiff, and provisions for conducting the legal proceedings. A privileged wife shall be capable of making the plaint for her husband, and of informing the husband of the plaint when her property is anything whatever, and nothing is manifest as to that wealth, she is to be admitted for evidence, and whatever is on the same subject. 12. About the ordeal of those who have atoned, of those undergoing the sacred twig ordeal, and of those undergoing the heat ordeal, who are pure, that freedom from falsehood, of which each separately, which they, every one of them, request, when the ordeal is not that for their own station, but that for the station of others, and whatever's on the same subject. It says sane, but it's got to be same subject, right? 13, about the object of any evidence, and on the account of the reason of its propriety, the impropriety of any one being without evidence, and whatever's on the same subject. 14, about the reality of a statement due to an ordeal, and so many having gone to the ordeal place for the sake of watching the first comer and aftercomer, the time of performance, the statement, the ceremonial, and the invulnerableness due to it, the kinds of incrimination, how to protect the limbs by which the ordeal is accomplished, and each one of the formulas, mirang, of protection, the superintendents for observing the ceremonial, and the decision about the acquitted or convicted one. 15, this too that is, whose going to the ordeal place is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th, and by whom it is commanded to be given. 16, about the business of the ordeal attendants, var au stigano. 17, about incrimination through confession or some other reason, the reliance restored thereby, and whatever is on the same subject. 18, about a thief destroying life and escaping, the suspicion owing thereto about any one as to assisting the thief, and whatever is on the same subject. 19, about there being no ordeal for those confessing, and so also as regards those of good repute, accusation as to the existence of a limit to the good repute, even that which is for the extent of a yugyast, a dashmest, an agoyost, a takar, and a hasar, at the least. 20, about litigation as to a costly article, when a witness of its possession by the one party is combined with non-possession by the other one, with no witness, or with its possession by the other one with a single witness, or the witness of one is with the sacred beings, and its possession by the other one is likewise not manifest when both parties are related. Kid yahi, kid yahik are, both are unrelated, anaz dihik, and what kind of possession they say is most real. 21, about annulling the decision of a judge and the time it is done at the court of a chief judge, and also owing to an ordeal for certainty, and whatever is on the same subject. 22, about the litigation of 3 persons as to property. It is declared so much is given to one on the day uharmazd, to the day bohuman, to another one on the day ardavahist, and possession is not made over to the third one at all. About selling property which is not one's own, and whatever is on the same subject. 24, about controversy as to anything which ought not to occur. 25, about any essential dispute that anyone has when agreeing thus, I do not have it as my own, but owing to the other person, and whatever is on the same subject. 26, about the litigation of an Iranian with a foreigner, or with foreigners of a foreigner with an Iranian, or a slave with the man of the country as to the costly article, and whatever is on the same subject. 27, about a much clamoring plaintiff having summoned defendants to the judges regarding a decision, and about the perverted wordiness and mixed verbiage in the legal proceedings, and whatever is on the same subject. 28, about the time for a high priest of property and possessions, what is the specific necessity for a high priest, and whatever is on the same subject. 29, about the fitness of a woman for evidence and judgeship when guardian over herself, and the unfitness of a privileged wife who is a foreigner and worthy of death for only a single offense, even with the authority of her husband, and whatever is on the same subject. 30, about the owner of a pledge not depositing the pledge beforehand, and whatever is on the same subject. 31, about giving up the property of partners, and whatever is on the same subject. 32, about the property that anyone possesses and is without any witness as to his ownership and possession of it. 33, about the ordeal of excessive eating, Pauru Kurano, for escaping distress, Mustkar Z, by plaintiffs and defendants before driving each other into legal proceedings, and whatever's on the same subject. 34, about the legal proceedings as to a female. They steal from someone and she becomes a suppliant or a thief. Someone takes her by sequestration, haki daki, and they steal her also from him, the original possessor. Boon sees his own, not knowing she is back alive, when they become disputing about her. And whatever's on the same subject. 35, about property, which is in the possession of anyone, when someone gives it up, and someone else is in his sight, and he does not dispute it. 36, about a master teaching a disciple not to go back to legal proceedings, and whatever's on the same subject. 37, about controversy with anyone as to special property and righteous gifts, and whatever's on the same subject. 38, about legal proceedings in which one accomplishes an ordeal 3 times and it comes off in one way, and whatever's on the same subject. 39, about the existence of the many kinds of speaking with the wizard's spells and those with threats of danger, and about the usage in witchcraft as to the moderate and justifiable production of mutual afflictiveness thereby. 40, about which is the ordeal for one worthy of death, the greatness and littleness of an ordeal, and also this, that is, which are the blessed among 20 of those undergoing ordeals. 41, about the proportion of firewood, and from which tree it ought to be good, and again to the several appliances and formulas that are necessary in accomplishing the ordeal. 42, and this too, that when the man is aware of his own truth, even though he be aware of it, the fire speaks in the words of men thus, walk not on to me, for I chastise during one's progress. 43, about one still mediating in legal proceedings as to a thief who has acted faithfully about quitting confinement and fetters to cause a ceremonial, and whatever's on the same subject. 44, about the wealth of a priest who is not keeping his property in edifices, auz desiki, or domains, mata, but goes on with his occupation, and when he passes away, to whom and how it has to come. 45, about litigation as to property from the residuary wealth of fathers, about keeping it together, vahamdar, and whatever's on the same subject. 46, about the amount of retribution in confinement, fettering, and the punishment for a lamb, a sheep, or a beast of burden, which is stolen, and whatever's on the same subject. 47, about a defendant regarding whom 3 plaintiffs complain, all 3 as comrades, 1 as to a lamb, 1 as to a sheep, and 1 as to a beast of burden, and whose answer is first given. 48, about the litigation of 3 persons as to a costly article which remains apart from them, he who deposited it being a strong person, and the ownership of not even one of them being certain. 49, about the coming of retribution to 3 persons who, all 3 as comrades, have stolen a lamb from one, a sheep from another one, and a beast of burden from a third one. 50, about the reason of the justifiableness, and that also of the unjustifiableness of confining a fellow countryman for his own theft, and whatever is on the same subject. 51, about the extent of continuance in hearing a defendant, and this too as to a plaintiff, also about the time appointed for speaking and its extent. 52, about this, namely, when any one has made an accusation about any other, and goes back to the time appointed, and before a reply is given, he shall make out another accusation about the same man, to which of the 2 accusations a reply is to be first given. 53, about the reason of the hardship of legal proceedings, about what man it is whose statement is second, third, fourth, and last in conducting legal proceedings, and about the 22 stratagems in conducting legal proceedings. 54, about the canceling pod yar ani of an ordeal, even that which is accomplished, with 3 selected witnesses. 55, about the season of the hot ordeal, and also that of the cold, and whatever is on the same subject. 56, about one in a procedure demanding an ordeal, the other one having appointed the time for the supreme priest, and whatever is on the same subject. 57, about the benediction of the supreme priest on making or changing a decision. Also this, namely, which are the blessings for changing through their nature a decision which is made. 58, about evidence of walking upon a water skin, keek, and putting something inside it, of assault and wounds of wealth which they squander, nikazend, and a righteous gift of a damaged and sequestered thing, and of rubbing up, pado, malisno, and buying it, strengthened, and at a price. 59, on litigation about the ownership of a wife, cattle, trees, and land, and whatever is on the same subject. 60, about the certainty of the statement of several leaders of an affair as to that on which their affair depends, and of the supreme priest are 3 witnesses in every legal proceeding. 61, about incrimination. Irik taki, of several kinds, as to statements and legal proceedings, and whatever is on the same subject. 62, about the modes of action for eradicating the deceptions. Frevu ano, fitar, of apostates, and whatever is on the same subject. 63, about cases where virtuousness of the thoughts, words, and deeds of mankind is all derived from the virtuousness of the beneficent spirit, and mankind themselves shall render it their own, and in that way its reward reaches them, and their viciousness is all derived from the viciousness of the evil spirit, and mankind themselves shall render it their own, and in that way its bridge penalty reaches them. 64, about the injuriousness due to unrenounced sinfulness, that is, what is injured by the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth unrenounced reduce sin. 65, about where and which is the speaking with threats of danger, and which is the taking up of a weapon. Agarepto, not the turning it down. That becomes a tanapuhar sin. Also, the sin which is owing to such sin. 66, about the case where one has to atone, and who does it? He who undergoes the sacred twig ordeal has atoned best, and which is the least heat ordeal. 67, about 2 men having seized property together, and having together at the time demanded a judge an ordeal about it, and when one seizes the property some time earlier, and the other one demands the judge an ordeal earlier, or whatever is on the same subject. 68, about someone carrying off the property of a person from the custody of another person in sight of the same, and he who kept it before is within a hasar, a witness before the judge as to its custody or possession, and also when the witness of it has not come within the hasar, and whatever is on the same subject. 69, about cases where the decision of the judge is to be made from the avesta and zand, or from the common consent of the good, and whatever is on the same subject. 70, about the justifiable selling of a man, a sheep, or a beast of burden as free from defect, when its defect is not obvious. Also about the symptoms of their defects. 71, about the case where and how far a decision about which one is in dispute is a solitary statement or more. 72, about the object of the appointment of a judge, the eminence of an appointed judge, or whatever is on the same subject. 73, about the reasonableness of the severity and want of severity of judges. 74, and this too, that the judgeship is to be given to him who is acquainted with the law, akas dad, and the object of acquaintance with law. 75, about the case where there are a supreme judge of the law, a plaint, a defense, an arrangement of legal proceedings, and an award, and through what sin it becomes injustice. 76, and this too, that the justice of him who may therein commit falsehood as regards so many essential decisions is injustice. 77, about the many who may seize wealth, which is the property of someone with their own hands, and when they litigate about it, he says it is his own property, whereby they are convicted. 78, about incrimination of 5 kinds, as to whatever property is on the spot, or at a distance, pavan, hasar, and whatever is on the same subject. 79, about putting apart, keeping apart, and 2 apart before being put away, also about litigation, as to keeping apart and whatever is on the same subject. 80. And when someone has to deliver property, which is a person's own, to someone else, in the sight of him whose own it is, and he who is seizing upon it disputes about it as his own property, and whatever is on the same subject. 81. About disputing the debts of fathers, when one of their associates is confessing them, and the rest have come, and it is possible for them to dispute them, but they do not dispute. 82. About the progress of a dispute of one of the associates as to the whole debt of one's fathers. 83. About the possibility of children being worthy of death for wizard spells when with their guardian, and of a woman being so when guardian of herself. 84. About a case where the amount of a lamb, medat-e espereno, is the lowest, and the amount of a human being, virok most, is the highest. 85. About theft and plunder as regards one's own property, when one brings it away from the possession of someone without dispute. 86. About the triumph of him who falsely investigating may judiciously by illegally issued incentives, when he institutes legal proceedings for the sake of appearances, as distinguished from him who is truly seeking and truly investigating. 87. About the statements of a litigation of man and wife, which is justifiably brought on. 88. And also this, namely, when she sees herself injured, our defense is possible by means of that which is discharged by two fingers. It is justifiable when they shall institute no litigation, but seizing. 89. About the person who has become privileged to give away a daughter to a husband, her father having passed away. 90. About the sin of making a damsel, Kanik, worthy of her husband. 91. About the sin as regards property in this action either produced, or the action for this purpose is really devoid of illiberality. Ada hisni, are to commit in order that they shall give me a wife, even when they do not give her on that account. 92. About the sin of giving a girl, Kanik, for a girl, or other living thing, are of speaking thus: do thou go in unto my sister or daughter, while I too will go in unto thine. 93. And the sin as regards the person of my wife too, which is owing to that sin. 94. About one obtaining back the value which he gives away for a girl, when the girl is not that value in wedlock. 95. About a girl who, after 15 years of age, is not given to a husband and her father to satisfy her menstrual excitement. Dashtan, Maya, Vigard Dano, and to sustain it becomes sinful and harbors a paramour, and whatever's on the same subject. 96. About having given food and anything except a wife to anyone who praises the monster worshipper's religion of another, even though it be through fear. Also this, that it is only he, when he has thereby become quite the same tenets with the religion of the monster worshippers, to whom the gift of a wife worthy of a man, vir Masai, is then presented. 97. About committing the sin of giving no food, which is one of those worthy of death. 98. About the duty imposed of chastising a wizard for the Tanapuhar sin of assisting a demon, so that one's duty is manifold and to be accomplished during several years. 99. About the day and night, which are longest, medium, and shortest, that is, how many hussars they are, each separately, and as to their occurrence, in what control is the point in time, which is really theirs, each one as to period. 100. About the parasang, which is the longest, medium, and shortest, and whatever is owing to their subdivision. 101. About the work and fodder, vasan, of an injured beast burdened by day and night. 102. About a sheep which kills a person, and whether its owner be innocent or sinful, through not putting a tether band upon it, and the reason of the sinfulness and innocence therein. 103. About the period that extends from certainty to dubiousness, even though it be for the supreme priest, or one provides 3 witnesses, and how long it is. 104. About the multitude of witnesses who give no evidence together with the judge who is unjustly deciding. 105. About the injuriousness. Azariki, for the priestly authorities of anything that is given to the unworthy. 106, about what kind of gift that is given was accepted, that is, how when given by one, when another claims it, it returns to him, how and in what proportion, when the other does not claim it, its expediency does not arise, and whatever is on the same subject. 107, about a case where there is property of several kinds which a man has given away as a righteous gift, and it is allowable. 108, about the case where whatever is given and reaches someone when he gives it and does not say how it was given, it becomes a righteous gift. 109, and about its not having become a gift through fear of whatever is its danger. 110, about the theft and extortion of him who does not maintain the wives and children of persons in his control to preserve and nourish them through fear. 111, about the allotment of punishment for the limbs of sinners, upon which limbs is the allotment. 112, about the allotment for sin, where it is most irksome. 113, about the amount of retribution for an assault, zatam, which may be committed upon one worthy of death, who is preserved through great judiciousness. 114, about Harmazd having given all property to Zarathustra and the disciples of Zarathustra, the theft and extortion which have arisen in a man when he has not given to a worthy person of any prosperity that has befallen him, and whatever is on the same subject. 115, about how an inanimate being is situated, who is in a place apart, aham, and when he dies in innocence and keeping apart, his wound being also through duty, and whatever is on the same subject. 116, about the advantage and pleasure of keeping a promise, mitro dari, and the gravity, harm, and vexation owing to various degrees of promise breaking, mitrok, drugi, also how a promise is kept. 117, about the grievous sinfulness of strife, insincerity, of a key, and slander, and the harm that proceeds therefrom, also the frost, paused, and punishment provided for them, and whatever is on the same subject. 118, about having given frontier people as hostages, Gorobo, to foreigners who have demanded a ransom, Navisno. 119, about taking up Lala Garefstano, anything whatever that is precious to a foreigner and has become of exceeding value, when they give it up as a ransom to Iran, the extreme value of a youth, to Gil, when they shall carry him off as a hostage from the foreigners in place of ransom, and how they are to keep both. 120, about the grievous sinfulness of a man stealing back as a ransom from foreigners, though it be his own son. 121, about the sinfulness of the governor, Sardar of the province, through any harm that occurs in the province owing to his elevation and evil commands. 122, about the existence of so many thieves assisting a thief with special ransom, and what kind of reward, Navisno, one is to use with thieves to deceive with great judiciousness. 123, about attaching to the neck of a thief the thing which was stolen by him for his personal identification, and conducting him to the judges. 124, about the non-atonement of thieves by any amount of anything whatever, without confession as regards their own sin. 125, about the assistance to possession which is claimed by anyone from the authorities, padan, when his property is stolen or extorted. 126, about the grievous sinfulness and deceitfulness of many kinds which occur when a woman who is given away with her occurrence and her acceptance is announced is given to another man, and whatever is on the same subject. 127, about the unjustifiableness of the wisdom of a man through which he took away property in dispute from him who was ignorant before there was certainty about it. 128, about making intercession in a dispute for him who was ignorant with the judge and other authorities and chiefs, even including the King of Kings, when there is no intercessor for him. 129, about the reason for the fitness of a man for sovereignty and the lodgment of Harmazd upon the limited tongue person of him who is a good ruler. 130, about the reason of the fitness of a man for sovereignty and the lodgment of Harmazd upon the limited tongue person of him who is a good ruler. 130, about the 5 special ordinances Dadistan that are certain. These are without ordeal because they are to be considered as certain, and the penalties thereof are to be fully inflicted. 131 about investigation after confession. 132 about squandering nikazand wealth, of which the custom, dastobar, of maintaining is begging for it. 133 about the progress, sakisno, of legal proceedings not having occurred, which is not demanded on account of the existence of want of power and the number of kinds of that want of power. 134 about a woman without a guardian when she takes a paramour, and whatever is on the same subject. 135 about bringing a written statement into judicial proceedings, and whatever is on the same subject. 136 about the sin of frightening anyone from his place when he shall move on account of that fright, and the amount of movement and harm which will come upon him therefrom. 137 the delivery back of that which is extorted from one's hands, are keeping, that is, how it is to be considered as delivered. 138 about the obviousness of a minor adjudication from that which is greater. 139 about the extreme benefit and peace even in this world through a wife and children and grandchildren, and also the prosperity as regards produce and even wealth thereby, taking away the disputes that arise. 140 about the grievous sinfulness of wealth acquired through unnatural intercourse, the annihilation of the spiritual faculties. Ma no gano. 141 about a decree in which the decision is of 3 descriptions about 3 persons, about a tree which when stolen away is the death blow, mat, of 100 pure birds, fa'e, and 1,000 birds arise. 143 about a sin which owing to deceiving previously has to increase, fraz, mastano, its extent, and to fully taste the extremest crime of a dagger, dahrako, of several of the smallest finger breadths. 144 about the sin of defiling 4-footed females. 145 about keeping back one of the combatants from fighting, and whatever's on the same subject. 146 about counter assaults of 8 kinds, assault when an infidel shall commit it upon one of the good religion, and whatever's on the same subject. 147 about a counter assault of a heretic, deus dano, when an heretic, saritar dano, is slain. 148 about not leaving any property in the keeping of one worthy of death. 149 about such numbers of abettors of sin being with the sinner, and whatever's on the same subject. 150 about the injury of a plaint and defense, and the dwelling, property, and feast of the good by that person who extols the presidentship which is given him, but who is not fit for the presidentship. 151 about the sinfulness of a judge when he shall make a decision for anyone according to his origin. 152 about the grievous sinfulness of delivering the person of an Iranian to a foreigner, and whatever is on the same subject. 153 about the greatness of the gift of a righteous man as compared with men, the gift of another for Rashnu, the just, to proclaim among creatures and to accept. 154 this too, that when they encounter an apostate and it is necessary to hold a controversy, though there be danger for the hands or feet, or though even for the head, there is to be no refraining from asserting that which is true. 155 this too, that he who does not assert on account of fondness for wealth or dislike for his own people vexes water and fire and the righteous man, and disturbs even the reposing archangels from their thrones. 156 about the grievous sinfulness of making the righteous dissevered. Us kaftako. 157 about the bad properties produced by the evil spirit, adjudication attentive to lying evidence and false, in opposition to Rashnu the just, and through discontent at the advantage due to Rashnu, owing to the impossibility of the occurrence of those mischiefs produced at Rashnu's judgment seat, there where they do not give decisions for the wretched for the sake of the aristocratic multitude. Azad Havandi Ra'i. 158 and about the aristocratic multitude which comes to Rashnu owing to taking bribes, and went with a complaint to A'u Harmazd, and whatever is on the same subject. 159 about a just judge who is appointed one of an assembly for the opposition of thieves, oppressors, and destroyers of the righteous. 160 about the possibility of the coming of every one through diligence to the best existence. 161, about the superiority, masih, of true justice over men, other good works, and the grievous sinfulness owing to false justice, and when they shall not deliver a sentence with a full understanding of the true from the false. 162, about solemnizing and learning by heart, Narm, Cardano, the Gathas, the Hadokt, and the Vastag, through knowing the foundations, Payakan, thereof, the sin owing to not knowing them, and whatever proceeds therefrom. 163, about the greatness of the law through decrees and judgments from other discourses, Sroban. 164, about property, 7 kinds, of which one says that it is not allowable to take it as security for other property. 165, about 10 friends with different assertions on the same subject. 166, about the apportionment of this discourse. There are complete decisions of several other kinds, and into those too it advances and thereby introduces much adjudication, which takes heed in everyone of words and deeds of many kinds, and is specifically and also intelligibly apportioned. 167, perfect excellence is righteousness. Now, it's important that revelation, inspiration, and secondarily, the personal or learning judgment that is connected to that is put first, rather than mere wants of oneself are what becomes popular in the community. And it doesn't matter what position people are in the community. If they commit certain offenses, they have to be dealt with likewise. It can matter how much wealth a person has, how much they get fined, or that sort of thing. But and we also notice that it is not mercy to reduce the prescribed punishment. It is not being more just to add to the prescribed punishment.